Business people are frequently required to present ideas to others in oral presentations. A professional presentation begins with careful planning. Guffey's 3x3 writing process will help you plan your presentation. First, you need to know what you want to accomplish and know your audience. Let's watch the following scene in which Sarah and Ramon are preparing an oral presentation to the board about the company's PTO, or paid time off plan.
About holidays and sick leaves and vacation, because they're different and they're, how are you going to handle that?
Okay, well, yeah, they're all different, and the thing that's nifty about a PTO system is every employee is probably going to want to use those differently, right?
Right.
And so because of that, when they have the PTO in place, they're going to be able to access that amount of time off individually. So we don't have to tailor, holiday schedule for people who have this faith or for this faith.
Yeah.
And so those sort of holidays will all be covered.
Basically, what we need to find out is how are they going to react when they see this presentation. In other words, because they're very conservative.
Okay.
You know that they want to evaluate your presentation, and you know that they want to make their own decisions. So how are we going to handle this, right? I mean,
I think when you want to get a good presentation across, some of the basics are going to be to make sure that you have all the information they're going to want to have access to. I'm just trying to think in specific who we should really think about.
Well, there are a few people that come to mind when we think about the board. I mean, when I think about the board, I don't know, maybe you might have the same experience I have, but I was thinking about, Henry doesn't like to be presented with something that's a fait accompli. He doesn't like to be told, this is it, right?
Yeah, he likes to be involved.
He likes to be involved. And I think he's going to be happy with when you talked about the pluses on this side and the negatives on this side. I think he likes pros and cons. He likes to work them through.
Okay, one way to really sort of shine on that moment would be to maybe present two kind of primary pros or beneficial points, and then let him choose which ones he think is more of a strong point.
Okay, that's good.
But I think that's a great way to have somebody buy into a presentation.
Bill is basically kind of old school, which is really not a negative. It's just an observation. Okay, now he always needs more information. He needs more information, but he always worries about costs.
Right.
So I think that's one of the things we're going to have to take a look at.
As I've been looking into this, really the biggest bugaboo has been, maybe cost. But the cost always turns out to be a fixed item once you've implemented the change.
Okay, then he needs to know that.
Research is the first step of the writing stage. And I've done a lot more research on paid time off plans. The pros are all about how the plans are easy to understand and administer, while the cons are pretty much all about the costs of changing the plan over. Once the plans were up and running, they didn't seem to give anybody much trouble, and everybody seemed to like them.
Once you've determined your purpose and analyzed your audience, you're ready to collect information and organize it logically.
So, the next step in the writing stage is to organize. There's an old cliche that says when you're giving a presentation, you should tell people what you're going to say it, and then tell them what you've said. It sounds kind of oversimplified, but it actually works pretty well. We can formalize these a bit and call them the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. Now that we've agreed on an outline, we can start creating electronic slides to support the presentation. This program here provides templates to work from, which simplifies things. I choose a basic template, font, and color scheme. I'm going with fairly cool colors, blues and greens, and you don't want to pick too many colors so that you can keep it consistent throughout. I've chosen a couple of readable fonts, and I'm making the bullet points white so they stand out against a darker background. Use clip art sparingly so the presentation doesn't look like a comic strip. And don't use too many fancy transitions, wipes, dissolves, fly-ins. Pick one or two and stick with them for the whole presentation, or just simply build your bullet points. And don't put too many words on a slide. A maximum of 7 lines and 7 words per line is a good guideline. Okay, the next point is that the employees get to decide how to use their days off. That leaves us with them being able to manage their own time off, and that takes a lot of the responsibility out of trying to over-administrate who gets to take off which day when. So there you go. What'd you think?
Well, I thought you did a very good job. Really. It's a very good presentation.
Okay.
And your bullet points, for instance, very concise, very good. Your PowerPoint slides, now they were visually very pleasing. Now, I just have a few negatives.
Okay.
Not much of anything. You were very good with the audience. However, every once in a while, you need to maintain a little more eye contact with the audience. And there was one other thing. Just every once in a while, when you were talking and you would point, but not point specifically, sometimes your shadow would get in the way of your bulleted points that you would make. So I just want you to be aware of that.
Stage fright? Sure, I still get nervous sometimes, and I've done a lot of presentations. Nervous is okay, though. Think of it as energy and convert it to something positive. I like to rehearse a few times. That way I'm pretty sure what I'm going to say. Then when I actually get up there, I remind myself to slow down. You don't have to rush into it or rush through it. Pause and just establish contact with the audience. And it's fine to pause while you're speaking, to collect your thoughts. I also find it helps if you establish eye contact with a couple people in the audience, as if I'm talking to just one person at a time. And remember to breathe. Nice, deep, easy breaths. That'll really calm you down. Finally, I'd like to present a summary of the PTO benefits. It provides incentive for good attendance, discourages unnecessary absences.
Everyone feels some type of apprehension before speaking. You can control and reduce stage fright and incorporate techniques for effective speaking by using these strategies. Before your presentation, know your subject thoroughly. Rehearse the entire presentation and include your visual aids in your rehearsal. Greet members of the audience and use your body language to show friendliness and confidence. During your presentation, you should maintain eye contact with the audience. Speak slowly and listen to what you are saying. Avoid common pitfalls of saying and you know. Discuss and interpret each visual aid for the audience. After your presentation, encourage questions and begin each answer by repeating the question. Use your answers to reiterate main points. Distribute handouts to your audience. End with a summary and appreciation for the audience.
So you see, giving an oral presentation doesn't have to be that big a deal. Even though we had disagreements, our team was able to use the Guffey 3x3 writing process, starting with pre-writing, to figure out what it was we were really up to. In the writing stage, I did a lot of research, which we obviously needed, and then we were able to organize our presentation into an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Revising took place during our rehearsals, and I used some additional presentation skills, such as staying calm during the event itself. By the way, they went for the paid time off plan.